The PGT Beauregard monument was removed around 3 this morning, but take a look over my shoulder. This is what we're currently looking at right now. You still have crews on scene working with cranes to remove the front base of the monument, if that makes sense. We're talking about the base that has PGT's Beauregard's name on that front part of the base, and that is what they're currently working to remove at this time. Now, we did speak with the New Orleans Police Department, and they say as of now, the remaining part of the base will stay. We don't know when the remaining part of the base will be removed, but as of right now, again, they're removing the front part of the base, again, where PGT Beauregard's name is currently at. Now, we arrived here around 2 o'clock this morning, and for the most part, again, it was a peaceful protest. It was separated by barricades. We had one group take them down on one side, another group, the Confederate supporters on the other side. We didn't really see a lot of interactions like we did last time as far as explicitives or anything like that, but again, we came again out here at 2 o'clock. We do want to mention that there were some streets closed. The streets in front of the Esplanade at City Park, the apartment complex, that has reopened. But again, coming back out here on scene, this is what we're looking at right now, where you can currently see crews are currently working to remove the front part of the PGT Beauregard's monument. Ladies?
Duke, it seemed that they tried to take this off the base several times before they were actually successful. Tell us what you saw as far as those efforts to remove it earlier this morning.
Yeah, it took a while to get the monument, the PGT monument itself, off the pedestal. It took a couple of hours, in fact. When we arrived, they put it into some yellow straps, surrounded with some bubble wrap, and then they were trying to remove it for as long as maybe since last night. But when we arrived around 2 o'clock this morning, there were several attempts, and we heard a lot of drilling, a lot of banging, a lot of clicking, a lot of, again, drilling. And around 3 o'clock, that's when we saw the PGT monument hoisted up and onto the flatbed of this 18-wheeler truck that we can't see with the naked eye, but it is around where those lights are over my shoulder.
And Duke, I know earlier you tweeted something having to do with a kayaker. I know you say that things remain fairly peaceful out there, but what was going on with that kayaker?
That was a kayaker that was right here on the bayou, just in the kayak, waiting, as we all were, to see when the PGT monument would be taken down. And when that monument was taken down, that kayaker actually moved ashore and was confronted with police. Nothing has developed with that situation. She was in handcuffs, but police later told us that she wasn't doing anything that was detrimental to the monument. But as you can see right now, this is what we're currently looking at. Workers are clearly trying to remove the front base of the monument. Ladies?
All right, thanks, Duke. We'll check back with you in just a minute.
Well, the Beauregard Monument was a bronze equestrian statue that stood 20 feet tall at the main entrance to City Park. That's at Esplanade and Wisner. It was unveiled Thursday, November 11th, 1915. And as you can see here, it made the front page of the Times-Picayune the next day. American sculptor Alexander Doyle created a trio of sculptures of Confederate Army generals that included Beauregard, Robert E. Lee in 1884, and 3 years later, a bronze statue of General Albert Sidney Johnston, which sits in Metairie Cemetery. In February of 1999, the Beauregard statue was added to the National Register of Historic Places. So now we want to turn our attention to how people are reacting, right, because this has been a huge part of the story, to this statue being removed.
Katie Steiner is live and spoke with members from the anti-monument and pro-monument camps. Katie, this has been a highly emotional scene out there. Now, have these groups clashed at all, butted heads?
Good morning, Jade and Shiva. Yeah, these groups have, as you can imagine, just like we are seeing with every statue that is coming down. But we kind of want to show you the lay of the land. So right now we are here where the media is staging, so you can see that view of the statue. But if you take a look around here, I want to show you where the barricades are and where everybody was. So you can see we're going to move the camera just a little bit to the right. You can see those barricades. So that's where all of the people were staging. But as soon as that monument came down about 3 o'clock this morning, a lot of people left. There's still a couple stragglers here watching as NOPD and those crews there, and obviously not NOPD, but the crews are taking it down. So in the last one that we saw, last Thursday there were a lot of police around. There aren't too many. We're not seeing, I can't even see one police. Oh, I see one police officer and a police car there. But really, for the most part, it's very, very quiet. There's not a whole lot of people out here. But at one point, there were a few hundred people out here watching that monument. They were here, started shutting down the streets about 8 o'clock last night. There were a ton of people out here. And just the vibe of the whole event, from the one side, the anti-monument side, it was like a party. You had people out here drinking. You had a lot of singing. You had a brass band out here. So it was very similar to Mardi Gras. That's how people were describing it, with a lot of people out here with the barricades. And then you had the other group, the pro-monument group. They had their flags and they were pretty quiet when that monument was coming down. But as you can imagine, people were talking back and forth to each other. Sometimes it did get heated, and there were 3 arrests in this case. There was 2 women and 1 adult who was arrested for public drunkenness, and then there was also an arrest for a attempted public arson when somebody tried to burn a flag. But we are going to bring you more sound coming up at 5 o'clock. We'll hear from both sides. But guys, now we're going to send it back to you in the studio.
Hey, Katie, I know that for the Jeff Davis removal, both sides were kind of kept separate. Was that the case here as well?
It doesn't appear like it, no. And when we got here, nobody was here. So it doesn't look like those 2 sides were separated, because you can see that barricade is just all just one there. So it doesn't look like there were too many problems. Oh, excuse me, they were separated, but it looks like those barricades were now taken down. Jade?
Katie, it is